Hey guys, thank you for joining me today as I share about the power of vulnerability to deepen connection with other men, God, and ourselves, and as a tool for personal growth. My name is Jason Mellard. I am a certified high-performance coach, writer, and the founder of Own Your Identity. I'm committed to empowering men to live beyond their unwanted same-sex attractions and into their purpose through the power of Christ and for the glory of God. In my life, I have desired camaraderie with other guys, but feared the vulnerability that would require. I remember in youth group at a new church, I observed guys shooting hoops in the gym, laughing together on the church pews, and sharing dating stories. I smiled my winning smile, puzzled on how to converse, and stunned myself when I scored a basketball goal, ready to brush up on my high five skills. I felt like I was on the outside looking in, calculating how to insert myself into the life of the seemingly carefree guys. I was in my head, filtering life through my insecurities and expectations, not living in the moment, something I didn't even know how to do. Back in my room at home, I felt lost and alone. I've always desired close connection with other guys I felt separate from, but I didn't know how to achieve it. And here were a few hang-ups. I wasn't comfortable with or accepting of myself. I didn't know how to be real, and connection requires authenticity. I feared rejection. And I let my unwanted attractions to guys keep me at a distance from them. With those stacked against me, attempts at connection were quite vulnerable. It was easy for rejection to make cracks in my frail identity. What advice would I give that younger version of myself? Well, I would say, first, observe life exactly how it is and seek to remove any judgment from it. I could be unsatisfied with my lack of social skills, but I didn't have to tell myself that something was wrong with me. Second, ask God to help you accept life just as it is. You can even accept that you don't want to accept it. It's hard to enjoy life or believe that something better is possible when you believe that it must look different. I can desire close relationships with other guys, but I don't have to let them be a prerequisite to living and loving life now. When I move forward from a place of fullness rather than lack, it's easier to grow and take courageous action. Third, practice vulnerability. Start by being vulnerable with yourself. Be honest with yourself about your feelings, disappointments, and true desires. Journaling is a great way to do that. If you're not in the habit of journaling, start now. Be vulnerable with God. This one was hard for me. I was scared of him. God was not safe. He counted my sins against me. But however I viewed him, it didn't change the truth about who he is. We can model David's laments in the Psalms and come to him just as we are. David sets a good example of voicing his thoughts and feelings honestly, with emotion, but acknowledges courageously God's true character. Then, ask God to bring a safe person into your life to practice vulnerability with. Early in my recovery journey, God brought a disarming man into my life who listened, supported me, and shared his wisdom. The experience gave me confidence to be open with others and risk showing up authentically. Healthy intimacy with other men is a beautiful part of God's design for growth and flourishing. Until my mid-20s, though, I didn't have a good understanding of what that could look like. I greatly desired to be a part of the man club I had obsessed about and observed from the sidelines, but it always felt out of reach. I copied the behavior, appearance, and mannerisms of guys that appeared confident and at ease. I would smile until my cheeks hurt when I believed that is all I had to offer. But my best efforts only reinforced my belief that I was deficient as a man. Until I learned to be authentically me, even when it was uncomfortable, attempts at lasting intimacy proved futile. Rather than reach for the man card I didn't believe I possessed, I needed to recognize I had it all along, honor and love myself just as I was, and share and surrender my deep desire for connection with other men to God, trusting that he would provide it in his timing in a way that was perfectly designed for me. Here are 10 steps I took to grow in authenticity, vulnerability, and connection with men. 1, like I mentioned, I learned to love myself exactly as I was and receive God's love while holding space for a greater vision of myself and healthy intimacy with other guys. I understand that's easy to say but hard to do. It was a long process with assistance by caring mentors. 2, I grieved the close connection with men that I longed for but didn't experience. That was very healing. 3, I honored my desire for intimate connection with guys rather than shaming myself for wanting it badly or not experiencing it. 4, I took a close look at the thoughts I had regarding my place in the realm of men, identified the lies and underlying false beliefs, and replaced them with truth. This took learning new skills of productive reflection and mindfulness. 5, I imagined what it would feel like to be confident and at ease, and decided I was a person who possessed those qualities already. That was powerful. 6, I got clear on what type of guys I wanted to connect deeply with and what I wanted the relationship to look like. I didn't have to get the approval, or connect with every guy. I could acknowledge what made me unique and seek friendships that were complementary to who I was. 7, I allowed myself to appreciate the guys I'd admired without taking inventory of how I didn't measure up. I didn't always know what to say or how to act, but I could enjoy the moment and the men God brought into my life, choosing not to focus on how I might be perceived or if I might be rejected. I could decide just to relax. 8, I chose to believe that no matter what, other men were better off when I was around. Okay, that is huge. Other men were always better off when I was around. I decided to believe it, even if it didn't feel true. Even if I didn't help the team win, contribute much to the conversation, or have the mannerisms and way of speaking that I thought I needed, they were better off for my presence. I am an image bearer of God, and that alone makes me immensely valuable. 9, I chose to be vulnerable in sharing my story with men who had shown themselves to be trustworthy and supportive, even when I was scared. And I cheered myself on for the courage that I displayed. 10, lastly, I let go of expectations and enjoyed each day of the journey to greater intimacy and vulnerability, no matter the result. And one of the most vulnerable things I did was to share my experience of unwanted same-sex attraction with others. When I first considered sharing it, I was scared. I would be exposing a part of myself I had kept hidden. And why did I keep it hidden? Because I decided it meant I was uniquely flawed, that others would treat me differently, shun or judge me, and that saying out loud, it would mean that it was real. But it was a big part of my life. I couldn't ignore it. It overwhelmed my body at times and took up a lot of space in my mind. Plus, I had no idea what to do with it. I needed some support and guidance. We are relational beings. Keeping my same-sex attractions to myself was troublesome because it conflicted with my true identity as someone designed to be open and vulnerable. And, more than anything, we were compelled to live aligned with our identity. So the first person I told about my attractions to guys was my dad. Now, while he wasn't somebody I was in the habit of going to for support, I knew he could relate, having experienced SSA himself. He said, "It feels like lightning going through your body, doesn't it?" I said, "Yeah, it does." Then I waited, kind of expecting some more counsel, but ended up leaving the conversation just puzzled by his seeming disinterest. I didn't have any tools from him, and I felt alone. That was a dead end. So next, I made an appointment with my college pastor, and with trepidation, I sat in the waiting room, then entered his office, holding out hope that he would give clear direction. "I'm attracted to other guys," I said. He asked a few questions, said some words, and left me with a sense that I should just focus on being a good Christian and not give it too much focus. That wasn't helpful. Afterwards, I took a break from telling people about it and just got busy with school and life, but it remained troublesome. It was on my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So finally, towards the end of college, I shared my unwanted attractions with a mentor in a recovery group I had joined. He was someone I'd consider a man's man. I feared he would see me differently and pull away. but he had proven himself as an advocate for me and my growth. And while he didn't fully understand, he took plenty of time to listen. He embraced me and assured me of Christ's love and purpose for me. That gave me some courage to begin sharing with some friends, a counselor, and I eventually found a support group for other guys experiencing unwanted same-sex attraction, which was pivotal in continuing to take the power out of it. Now I know that it's nothing to be ashamed of. Acknowledging it and working through it courageously has shown to others the strength that has always been a core piece of my identity. And I haven't done it perfectly by any means, but I've kept moving forward in the journey. But sharing vulnerably can still be hit or miss. Here is a recent example of a time I was vulnerable with a safe person and got hurt. But it was still worth it, and I'll tell you why. A few months ago, I shared my passion for creating content regarding SSA with a new friend. In response, he shared something with me that I didn't know. In the decades prior, he had been in the gay lifestyle, and he kept that pretty close to his chest. We had a good talk about it, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to go deeper. I was excited about, him being a part of what I was doing. But soon after, he became distant towards me, and I could tell something was off. Recently, he apologized for withdrawing and shared that revisiting that part of his story was more difficult than he expected. So he doesn't desire to open it up or lean into it. And that was hard. I really was hoping, for something more there. And so while I can understand and respect where he is at in his journey, experiencing him pull away hurt, I anticipated a friendship with him where I could share my excitement and experience empowering men to live beyond their unwanted attractions and negative habits. I wanted him to be somebody who would cheer me on in the journey. We would still be friends, I know, but, it would look different than my ideal. So I had taken a risk in sharing my passion, and it led to distancing and disappointment. But was it worth it? I'm going to answer that with a resounding yes, and here is why. By being vulnerable about my story and my passion, I was speaking powerful messages to myself. I was telling myself that my story is valuable. I was telling myself that I am worth knowing, that I am courageous. His response didn't negate those truths or lessen the impact that acting in line with them had on me. I gave him permission to be vulnerable. People, they may be searching for a safe person to share their hurts and fears with, and maybe they're not ready at the time, but they can know I'm somebody that they can come to later. We can be that listening ear who gives them hope. And I was given an opportunity to grieve. What I wanted from him, what I was hoping for, it didn't happen. But I got to grieve the loss of, what was or what could have been. And doing that is really healing. I used to believe on the other side of grief was more grief, but I found that it is strength and joy. So when the opportunity comes my way, I take it. I also gained a greater self-awareness. Practicing vulnerability allows us to be in touch with our emotions and understand our reactions better. Finally, I was able to honor myself and invite God's embrace into my hurt. I am proud of my actions and thankful for my belief in a God that fully sees me, knows me, and is cheering me on. So I believe vulnerability is worth the risk. In her most famous TED Talk, Brené Brown, a researcher on emotions, said this: "This is what I have found. To let ourselves be seen, deeply seen, vulnerably seen. To love with our whole hearts, even though there's no guarantee. Just to be able to stop and, instead of catastrophizing what might happen, means that we can say, I'm just so grateful, because to feel this vulnerable means I'm alive." So when in your life have you stepped out courageously in vulnerability and maybe not received the result that you hoped for? Take some time just to think what benefits may have come from it, and what opportunities did you have to grieve? And what are the next steps for you to be more honest with yourself, God, and others about who you are and what you truly desire? I'd love to meet you, hear your story, and I invite you to join me in a small group of guys as we take a hero's journey into our past, present, and future to own our identity in Christ and to hear his voice more clearly. You can learn more about it at ownyouridentitynow.com and book a free coaching session. I'd love to talk with you soon. God bless.